there she is. Ashley has a microphone. It's important to use the microphone so that in the recording, people that are watching this live or will be watching it later via link will be able to hear your questions. Without further ado, Mr. Tom Lemke.
I just need a little bit of light. Okay. I'd like to thank you all for coming out tonight, and I'd like to thank CoPA and MARN for giving me this opportunity to show you some of my work. Mal, Ashley, and Christina of MARN have been really helpful with the AV, and special thanks to Pam and Aaron and the whole CoPA board, who put in hours of work and give us opportunities to get together, learn, and share our photography. I've been photographing for a long time. As Pam mentioned, I made a living as a corporate photographer and media developer at Northwestern Mutual. It was a great job. I did everything from portraiture to public relations, annual reports, and advertising. One of the things I did a while back was help to create big slideshows. As many as 18 projector multimedia presentations were done to motivate the sales force and show off corporate capabilities. As a matter of fact, that's where I met my wife, Joanne. And for many years, we worked on the same projects. She as a producer and me as photographer. Pairing my photographs to music has given me insights into my work. Listening to music changes the way I think. And changing the way I think changes the way I photograph. Music has helped me find common themes in my work. It gives me practice arranging images and putting them into sequences, which is useful, especially when you're hanging a gallery show or assembling a book. It's interesting to me that music and photography have a lot in common, even though they address two different senses. Think about the terms we use. Composition, for both music and visuals, is the best way to put things together in an artistic form. Movement is a core concept of music because it exists across time, and it's something that can be implied through photography. Keys and tones are the building blocks of music. Highs and low keys can describe the way we use mostly dark or mostly light tones in photographs. In music, a chord is three pitches that sound good together. In photography, we talk about complementary colors, dyads and triads, colors that work well together. Miles Davis said, "Music is about the space between the notes." So similar is this to the visual arts idea of positive and negative space. Music has the ability to awaken our emotions and tell a story without words. When combined with photographs, music immediately establishes a mood, develops a pace, and wraps the production into its own entity. Anyone who's written a story, edited a video, or created a slideshow knows it's like putting together a puzzle. When making these shows, the photography influences the kind of music I select, but then I let the music suggest how to put the whole thing together. The images in this first show are a collection of what I've been up to for the past few years. The music is the theme song from the movie Interstellar, recorded by the guitarist Iro Nereth. Since I've got a wide range of photographic interests, I thought this particular song would be a good way to show you several small collections of images. They say the enemy of creativity is interruption, so please take a second and make sure your cell phone is off. I'd like to play these three shows, and then we can talk and ask questions at the very end. So this first 5-minute show I call Portfolio in D minor. Lights, please. No sound. Thank you. So this next show is focused on a particular interest of mine. I like the concept of emergence, the idea of something appearing for the first time or changing forms from one thing to another. I like photographing ambiguous objects that I'm interested in and I'm interested in what happens in the viewer's mind as they try to assign some kind of meaning or category of meaning to them. The images in this show are all from the South Dakota Badlands. The first photographs will show you the landscape that I'm working in. Then there are images of the shapes I find among the erosional forms of the Badlands and how I see them. So this show takes you on a journey from the natural world to the world of my imagination. I also give you a look at my process. Some of my original black and white files transform into the finished work. This music is by a man from Iceland. It is called Brot by Olafur Arnalds, and I call this show Stories in Stone. So I'd like to tell you a little bit about the genesis of that project. I think like many kids, I was fascinated with dinosaurs. I always wanted to find fossils, and so that started me on kicking over rocks and looking for patterns in stone that would reveal the remains of some ancient critter. One of the trips Joanne and I made was to the Alberta, Canada town of Drumheller, where there are fossil beds to explore. It was here that I found these amazing erosional forms. As I photographed them, I made a bit of a transition. I started out photographing landscapes, and then started feeling that the land was looking back at me. So instead of doing straightforward images, I got more expressive with my digital darkroom techniques and started to paint with light to bring out the expressions I was seeing in the landscape. Here's an image from the Arizona Badlands that seems to show a group of people who've fallen while in each other's embrace. This one was purchased by the Wisdom Art Museum in Racine. Recently, I've been traveling to the Badlands National Park in South Dakota. There's a place where bison cross the barren hills, and following their track, I found that the landscape was festooned with turtle fossils. You can see the red bits in this image are the fossilized turtle shell, and the white part in the middle is what's left of the body of the turtle. So I found fossilized stories in stone. But what I concentrated on were the stories that I saw in the landscape, the ones that I found in my mind. I don't know where this project's going to take me, but right now it's the ore that I'm mining. So this last show I'd like to play consists of photos from one of my longest running projects about the Wolf River. The Wolf is one of Wisconsin's wild rivers and a great natural resource. It runs through central Wisconsin. I grew up in that area and have memories of visiting this place with family and friends. At this time of year, the weather's getting frosty up there. It's one of the best times to photograph. Ice forms along the river, adding high tones to the landscape. I go there early in the morning, when the light is quiet, and the dark forms of cedar trees lurk in the shadows. If I leave my shutter open for a long time exposure, the moving water transforms into diaphanous fogs and wispy cirrus cloud cascades. I never really know what kind of shapes the long exposures will express. A quiet river run may reveal a brooding whirlpool. Raging rapids smooth out, stretch and swirl, turning into ephemeral ghostly forms. The images in this piece take you from the depths of winter to the light of spring. I found another piece of cinematic music for this show, and it's from the movie The Tree of Life, composed by André Desplat. The Tree of Life seems appropriate to me because I think about life and the passage of time when I photograph the Wolf River. The river is a good metaphor for life. As the music plays, you might hear a note that evokes a feeling, maybe a sense of joy or of hope. Maybe you'll feel the spirit of the water. I call this one Rhythms on the Wolf River. Audio on this one. Might do a restart on this. Hang on. Well, it worked in rehearsal. All right. Just trying to turn off a few programs here. All right, we'll give it one more shot. be happy to answer any questions, or otherwise I think we're ready to wrap.
Hello? Hello?
You're on.
It's not a question so much, but a comment that the music interjects the viewer so much into the pictures. I was just trying to think, what would I be experiencing without the music? And it's a completely different landscape. It's really interesting.
It does a lot of things. I mean, the music, for one thing, it sets you up for a defined, set of time to look at the pictures, but it also does, I think, just add such a dimension combined.
Beautiful work.
Thanks.
Yeah.
We have a question.
Just a comment, Tom. It made me think when you were talking about how you photograph that photography is such a lonely art, at least at that point in the process. Until you come to an evening like this, when then you expose it for a group, and I don't know, just thoughts on that.
Well, it's a necessary part of, it's really what we're all after, is to show people our work. And I think that's what attracted so many of us about photography. It gives you a way of finding what you think is interesting about the world, and then saying, here, this is what I think. What do you think? You see the same things in the pictures that I do? It's one way to get into it.
Well, to use the analogy of people who wrote like musicals, sometimes the words came first and sometimes the music came first, and then they put it together. Do you let the pictures determine the length and then choose the music, or is it or do you have a music in mind and then you say, well, this is going to go with these pictures, or what's your creative path to this?
Well, I think like a lot of folks, we have buckets of pictures or projects, whatever you want to call them, and you start thinking about that group of pictures, and you think, well, what kind of music might express what I'm feeling, and then you have to listen to a lot of music. I found one thing that I come back to is cinematic music, because I think the people that write for the cinema are automatically or necessarily thinking visually, and that kind of evocative feeling. But then as soon as I've got the music selected and you commit to that, or I commit to that, I let the music run the show. That drives what's going to bring the next image up, how long, and the pacing. So that's my thinking.
What software or program do you use?
What I use maybe isn't what you should use, but I've just got the free iMovie program on the Mac. And the thing that I like about it is it's got its bugs, it's got its problems, but it does let you work different lengths of dissolves in, and you can paste the pictures and cut them to a beat, as opposed to some of the programs just say, oh, you've got 50 pictures, you got a 3-minute song, you're going to get however many seconds per picture, and it doesn't move to the groove. And I think you got to have that.
Hello.
Welcome.
Hello.
Thank
Well,
you.
one quick question. I was going to ask, what is your go-to equipment?
What's that?
Your go-to equipment. What's in your kit?
Oh, my gear, yeah. I'm rocking.
That's correct.
I'm rocking the Canon 5D Mark IV. That's my go-to axe. And I pretty just stick with a 24 to 105 millimeter lens, and a lot of tripod. Tripod. Got to have a good tripod. So I've got a nice Gitzo tripod. Lightroom, Photoshop, that stuff. That's where I'm going.